Well, let's get this party started, guys. We're going to be talking about communication and how it happens with your brokerage, which I'm always excited to learn about. I always take notes. So thank you again for doing this. I love seeing the background. I definitely feel like I'm watching a show or like some news thing, which is really cool. Brett, you were right.
Welcome.
Yeah, there's only I'm looking around. There's only one dog here today.
There's like 5 yesterday.
So in communication, we were just on I think last week, and the follow-up from that was people were just asking how we communicate in a COVID world and going forward. So absolutely, and by all means, don't make us continue talking all the way, because we're always super interested, in what you're, Tristan, doing, as well as Brett. Yeah. Let us have some info here too.
Yeah.
Well, we'll chime in once you say some really smart stuff. Then Brett and I will be like, oh, you know what? That's good. That just nudged us a little bit.
Yeah. Perfect.
So let's get started. Tell us how you communicate using the back end of Chime first. Let's start with that.
So as far as the back end of the Chime, you mean the 8x8s, the automatic drips, the email templates? What do you mean?
Yeah, where do you gravitate to? Because as we talk to different people, so we talked to Jonky, I think it was
last week.
Yeah, last week. And she loves the AI. She just lets it go. And then she interjects as it engages with people. Sure. Do you do something similar, or do you do more of the automation?
So we actually don't use a lot of the AI, but we do have a lot of automated templates just based off different partnerships we use that will trigger for survey, etc., whether that's via email or text. Honestly, we use the backend data to kind of see how the customer is communicating first. And then that's kind of how we trigger, because some people prefer email, some people prefer text, some are engaging in different ways. So we don't want to automatically assume each client wants a bombardment of text. If they actually prefer the phone, we're going to use the phone. If they prefer email, we're going to use email. So use that data in Chime, because it will show you how that person prefers, and then you'll have a better conversion rate there. We have a lot of email templates that we use, but from the front end, it's just speed to lead. So it's setting up that engagement, sending that welcome email, getting them on the phone, and then doing that. So we have a process that we use there. We usually don't let a lot of things run for us. We actually have the staff here to cover that.
I was going to ask, new lead comes in. What's the first thing that fires?
The first thing that fires, your welcome email is the first thing that's going to fire. Then they're going to get an automated call. They're going to get a call within 10 minutes or a text, preferring how they want to communicate, or both at the same time. So, but a lot of our leads come in through live connections, so we're typically on the phone with them first.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing to point out. And again, it's Chime does a lot of things. They don't do call routing. So we use which is, to me, like, and again, it may be coming, and who knows, and we won't talk about their phone system and my issues there. But the what we do is we have a third-party system, and there's a lot of these things out there. We have an incredibly complex one. I'm happy to share what it is. It's called Call Tracking Metrics. I wish you all with PhDs the best of luck trying to get that set up. I would say if anyone's listening and saying, well, I looked at this website and I don't have a computer science degree, Call Rail would probably be my next level of how to manage those things. Yep, if you're using it, fantastic. Drag and drop, move it around. It's absolutely fabulous. So we work on it with a lot of different buckets. We have a lot of different tie-ins, but essentially we do a lot of lead routing, because at the end of the day, a text message is, if someone's calling you, answer the phone, and it needs to be answered immediately. And so we have escalations that happen. So if based on zip code, price points, and kind of like location or time of day, it's going to go to a small subset of agents. If those agents don't answer within the first 2 rings, it's going to start blowing up to larger and larger different call queues. Someone will answer the phone. We rarely have anything go to voicemail.
Yeah, and once that call is completed, we have the recording, we place that in, then that imports into Chime and is automatically assigned to that person, its manager, and then that's when those triggers happen. So when they're on the phone with that lead or that customer, they've already set the expectation of this is what you're going to receive next. So we look highly efficient.
Look into Call Action. My buddy Jesse runs Call Action, And I will swear up and down by it. It's kind of what you're describing right now. It has lead routing, has all of that stuff in there for call routing. Big fan of call action. They give you multiple numbers that you can use. So if you're using, let's say, print advertising, for example, let's say you're putting out a postcard, you can put a different phone number on that. So you actually
100%.
can track your metrics.
Of course.
Big fan.
Yeah, we have we probably have right now around 250 phone numbers in our pool that we use for different
Billboard, print,
everything.
sign, whatever.
If you're not, and I'm just going to say this because I come from the retail world, if you're not tracking it, you don't give a crap about it.
You have no idea what the ROI
So
is.
if you're gonna spend the time and energy to put out anything, whether it's a postcard, whether it's a Facebook post, whatever the case is, and you're not tracking those metrics. If you're just taking your same office phone number, just copy and pasting onto every single thing, what are you doing? Where's these leads coming from? You can feel good about it, but feeling good and having an ROI are two different things.
Jay, it's so refreshing to hear somebody say that. Like, you have no idea.
It's
this is
only because I'm
literally
the only
like
realtor on here.
Right. It's one of those hurdles though that I've tried so hard to get people to do. It's like, dude, just get a different phone number. People are like, but what if they call that number? Great, it will route. But then I have another phone number I have to deal with. Yes. But you know what's coming through.
And we're going to circle around. And again, our business model is not right for everyone. But and for those people that have never seen us before, we are as full serve can do. We manage everything. Everyone is in Chime. We manage Chime. We manage the phone system. We manage the websites. Our agents do one thing, and they do it very, very well, and that is buy and sell real estate. They don't need to know how to manage the stuff. They don't even know where these leads are coming through 90% of the time. All they know is that their phone rings, answer
It's a money line.
Yes, this is what you want. And from there, it doesn't matter what the lead source is, because it's irrelevant at that point. That's something that we'll figure out on the back end later on. But it's immediately get them into the system, get them working. And because of what Chime does, and again, I always have to do my disclosure. I'm not paid by Chime, and we just are very happy users.
Very happy users.
Because of how Chime operates, and we look at ourselves as kind of in that alpha, delta, omega that we've talked about before. So alpha is that initial phone call intake, getting them interested, setting that initial appointment. And because of how Chime, everything's fluid. So that alpha could be a 3 phone calls, 2 text messages, 7 emails. And when it goes to a delta, meaning someone's going to actually go meet them at the house for a listing presentation or meet them to show them a home, that delta person never has to, interact or talk to the alpha agent, and they definitely don't need to go harass the client again about what was talked about. So when a delta agent shows up and they're in front of the client for the first time, they've listened to the phone calls, they've read the text messages, they've gone and done their own due diligence and research. They're showing up prepared for that meeting, which is why, as the key communication here is so big. Communication has to be fluid. We do not allow, in no way, shape, or form, dead ends or kind of rat holes to happen in our company, meaning somebody using their personal email, or I'm just going to keep a spreadsheet of something different. If it's not in one of our systems, it doesn't exist, and it's not allowed. And that's really hard for any broker that's watching this right now, going like, well, Jimmy likes Microsoft and Susie likes Google Docs. Like, how do I
Ain't gonna happen.
Get them to agree.
It's gonna happen. I love that. You know what's funny is, over the last maybe 2.5 weeks, I've interviewed Robert Slack, who's out of Florida. He's like the largest spender of online leads, spends about $800,000 a month on just, and the guy's insane. And then I just interviewed Gary Ashton, #1 Remax agent, right? And then I'm talking to you and I'm hearing the exact same thing, which is the model that you're using right now, where you remove this challenge that real estate agents have in picking up the phone and making the initial call, the contact, the nurture, all of that follow-up. You're removing that from them, and you're allowing them to succeed at a high level in the things that they enjoy doing, right? And that's super awesome to see, because I think, just from talking to to everybody that's succeeding at a high level, you're doing something right. So if you're listening to this, that is definitely the way you want to go. And look, if you want to get hired, they're hiring. They just have a really, really good, they have a lot of hurdles. But the last one we did,
so now I did warn you, there's a couple of questions I have. And so Randy and Brett, so hearing how we operate, hearing that we are doing, we do a majority of manual push. So AI is for the most part shut off in our system, just because it gets a little aggressive. I don't have a meter on when to do this and the triggers. What sections of that would you start enabling in our systems, and how would we better integrate AI into our workflows if we still want to have a lot of manual oversight? Is that even a possibility?
Where do your leads primarily come from? Are you purchasing leads, or are they coming in organically?
So many different sources.
Yeah.
I mean, we have organic SOI, our book of business SOI, agents personal SOI. And then of course we spend 500,000-ish a year as far as online lead generation, print, advertisement, so on and so forth. So
where online? Are you Google PPC?
We do a good chunk of Google. We do very little Facebook nowadays, just because we're angry at Facebook. We're still heavy Zillow people. In fact, we just got accepted to Zillow Flex.
Right.
So we're finishing up onboarding right now, and we go live, I think, next week with that. So that's a big dynamic change. And I think that's what I'm kind of getting at, that we are, and I'm always transparent about what we're struggling with, is how to integrate AI better into us, where we are, very much agent forward. But we do recognize how well the AI has come along just in the last year within Chime. Our struggle is, again, how aggressive to get with it, on the, so let's take Zillow as a good example. Zillow call comes in. We obviously are going to answer that call. Right. Is AI they've already talked to someone that I would think that a Google pay-per-click would be a better.
So here's my advice for you guys in the situation that you're in right now. I would take your longest converting lead source and put that on AI. So whatever, because you guys track metrics better than probably anybody that I've ever talked to, which is super refreshing, because I'm the same way. I'm a data nut. I want to see everything in front of me. So I would look at my lowest or my longest converting lead source, the one that takes the longest to actually do anything with. You're not doing Facebook. I don't blame you. I'm mad at Facebook too. But like Google PPC, for example, might be a little bit longer. And I would take that and I would drop AI to be your first hit on that. If you
that's
would.
What I was actually thinking with those nurtures.
No, and that's fabulous.
If they've talked engagement. If they've talked to anybody, in your case, it should automatically shut itself off. So you can do that. There are ways to do that. We might have to talk after the webinar of ways we can do that for you. But I would put it on your lowest or your longest converting lead source. And what sounds like in your case, it might be farm. That way, when they do reach out, it's like, holy crap, they reached out. So take your longest converting one and drop AI on that. Try that and see how it works.
I would say right now, off the top of my head, that's homes.com. Like
probably.
Yeah. Homes.com is, give them. I know they try.
They might get better, guys. They got bought, so they might get better.
No, I like CoStar. Let's see what they do.
Yeah. They've had one of the same sales guys for like 5 years, and I remember at a trade show, I was wearing my shirt with the company on it, and he tried to sell me Homes.com leads. I'm like, bro, I'm not an agent. It's
like
literally says what company I work for.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I feel the same way. Like they got great reps, and you talk to them, and so you can't cancel the account because so George sweet. Relies on your $120 a month. So, but they're not giving you anything for it. But at least you're on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we're not going to dive too much into all these random lead sources. But no, Brett, that's exactly what I appreciate getting that out of you, because we're going to go back and kind of relook at going source by source and less of an overall blanket there. I think that's the right attack.
And that's the best part, is you can do that. You can select what sources you want it to be on. And so, like you said, go through your metrics. Look at what you get a lot of leads in, and you're only converting, let's say, a low number. I don't know what your normal conversion rate is, but let's say you're only converting like 1% of those, drop that on AI and let it do it. That way you're not spinning your wheels on leads that aren't ready yet. That makes sense?
No,
Yeah,
I love that.
Makes total sense.
I would say the quick temperature check of that is, which leads do your agents hate working the most?
Touche.
Yeah.
Very well played, Randy.
Yeah, which leads are they least likely to call?
Yeah, people that want to rent homes that are for sale.
Right.
Oh, yeah, those are the worst. And we get
What are
those.
you doing?
We get those. So I have a question then on your database right now. How big is your current database?
Our Chime.
Just Chime? I don't think we have everything in there yet. So.
We've got something like 26,000 leads that are in there. We're, I don't know, what, 18? No, we're about 2 years in now.
Yeah.
At this point now with Chime.
All right.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've kind of, the problem that we have is because, it's hard to think like 2 years, like, oh my God, they're one of the more mature people on this platform, but we are. So like some people, that's the people that are onboarding in the last 6 months, they're like, of course I'm going to use AI. Of course I'm going to do all these cool things. And like, when I turned on AI the first time, suddenly I had to figure out how to stop like 500 different chats that started instantaneously across all of our leads. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. So there's a lot of that where you just kind of how for us kind of, again, that are coming from a long-term Chime user, where there's still some features that we see come up in the thing. And we're like, we're so busy. We don't, we got to figure out how to bring and implement that stuff in right now. So that's why I'm using this as an opportunity to talk to the people.
Well, I think the one way to approach this is you have a big database, and some of those people may feel like they're not doing anything. They're kind of dead.
Mhm.
So what you could do is
I was
prompt.
thinking the nurtures.
Yeah,
Some of the nurtures.
those nurtures.
Based off source.
Prompt them with some automation text, and if those respond, then you have the AI take over at that point until they.
Correct.
I think that's one way to at least use your AI on things that you thought were dead.
Yeah,
reactivating leads.
Where I could see this being a big one for us is when the clients go dark, they get moved to a cold nurture tab for us, which is fine. But but we continue to send them just drips, and so we have and when we say drips, like we're not going to send them we don't do the thing with like, here's a muffin recipe, and here's the best way to teach your dog to swim.
Them stuff that they actually care about.
Yeah, we're sending them homes. Like there's so many times I see things from other brokerages and stuff, and it's like here's how best to celebrate a birthday party. It's like
nobody cares.
No, we're good. So we send them homes, but one of the things and we'll play with it today, and is the biggest trigger that we have right now is if we see someone in cold nurture, click on one of our home, like here's our new listings or anything else.
We revisit that.
That's an immediate phone call.
Well, it does auto trigger immediate follow-up, and then it sets a task and it alerts that agent to go, this person's back, they've looked, this is what you need to do. And I set that up a while ago because we have a really good reconversion and re-engagement from nurture.
How does that go with a phone call from that agent instead of a text, or is it a text first and then a phone call?
It depends on how that client likes.
It depends on how the lead likes to communicate.
Yep. So based on like, there's an age group that isn't going to text.
They don't want to text.
And there's an age group that isn't going to talk on the phone. And so based on the metrics of how that, and again, Chime does a fabulous job of breaking that out. We set those triggers up based on like, okay, this client prefers text messages. They've re-engaged after 6 months. The task comes up immediately for that agent to send that text and start re-engaging.
Another good thing, which I'm not sure every Chime user has done, or they're taking advantage of this, is, obviously your Maris, your Maris is linked into the system, but we spent a really, really long time with our onboarding team building that out. Very specific to tabs, searches, radius, market. So we really mapped a true Maris on the back end, so we can set up very, very key engagements for these people. So it helps us with our, conversion. So they're actually really seeing what they want to see instead of just like, here's a list of homes. Here's a list of homes. I think that has increased our conversion as well. So spend that time on the phone with them because they will build your maps out. So our engagement, our Maris is pretty robust in Chime.
don't even get me started on Maris.
We have
or
commercial
on the
land
MLS overall.
Yeah.
Not a good conversation.
That's why I don't want to use it. And that's why I want to Chime to make it better.
I love that. All right.
I just want to take y'all's instance of Chime and just make it the default version for everyone.
Cool.
I would
Well, we
feel
actually have our
really
web
bad for all of
developers-
them.
We have our web developers working. Is Karen our girl? Whatever. Our web developers are
Catherine.
working. Catherine. They're working with her
Karen.
to build out a really, really nice new template for websites too.
Yeah, so you guys will get that. We're spending close to 6 figures right now on a website revamp, and we're to do what we need to do. We have to get some back end resources from Chime, and we already said when that
Been totally great
when
about
that template is up and running and integrated. Right now, there's four templates, and we hope to get back to the community with a 5th,
Yeah.
And possibly 6th. So
Ooh,
yeah,
I like it.
new
I like
stuff.
So I have a question for you. What are you looking forward to for Chime putting into place this year that doesn't exist?
Picture messages and group messages.
Ooh.
Dude,
Yes, this is a hot topic.
Let me write that down so I
you
can.
know, oh man, my brain is melting.
We are actively, so update for everyone in the Chime community. We are actively right now working on the picture messaging solution. So
One, because our agents actually use their Chime number exclusively, that's the only way they communicate with their customer. So we're 100% adoption.
Yeah.
So our customers will try to group text us back, not knowing they can't. And also they can't send us pictures of stuff they want to see.
Mhm.
And so then I do have to engage them in a different way to make sure that that gap doesn't happen.
Yeah, and just to be clear, there's no reason for anyone else that's watching the Zoom to complain. I have the lead on this. I have sent some horribly mean emails, and I apologize to anyone in corporate that they were just clearly it's just a need of things that we all want, and I respect all of your
I felt like your
technical
emails were
abilities.
very nice.
No, it's
actually.
just, the thing is we all want to see Chime succeed. I think that we all, when you pick a platform, and there's a lot of them out there, and I'm not going to bash any of them, because if you can make your business run from a highly effective CRM, there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah,
sure.
We clearly have chosen Chime, not just from a we're going to buy it and implement it standpoint, but we look at them as partners. And again, we want to do, and having the ability of like, look, we want to do more than your website CMS is allowing today. And them saying, absolutely,
That's a big deal.
provide us with a certified web dev partner of your choosing, and we will work with them, and they absolutely are. And so that's the difference between, like, if you tried to do this with some of these other guys, they just be like, no, we don't care, and that's what you're gonna do. So the feedback does go to them. So when we are saying we need these things for messaging, they do listen. When we say, hey, we've seen dozens and dozens
Of updates come out. Yeah.
of updates come through our feedback because of how we use the system. And so to be honest, if anybody wanted our template of Chime, I would feel bad that they didn't have like an 8-day training session on the chaos that we put in there. But there is a lot of setup that's involved and initially, but I think that Chime has done a really good job of helping people get through that.
Very true. Guys, anything else you want to add? Brett, Randy? Anything we missed? No? All right, Jay, Amanda, anything you want to leave us with in closing? It's always great. I took some notes, so I have a notebook. So I love talking.
I've been taking notes as well.
Yeah. I'm just going to point out, and this is the first time, and I'm going to start making sure we sneak a few of our questions in to ask you guys, because the AI thing is going to, like, in a few minutes, get implemented on our side as well.
We'll let you know how it goes.
But yeah, and Brett, if you want to do a deep dive with us on this, and if Randy wants to host it on here, I have no issue. We can blur out the parts of the screen that are sensitive. I have no issue with letting everyone kind of talk and watch us go through this. We're big.
I really want to do that.
Yeah,
I think we could definitely.
I really want to do that.
I think it's helpful. And I mean, I run a number of small organizations and everything else. And I think transparency is one of those things that's missing. This is like, Chime certainly has the resources and the looks of how, like, here's the step-by-step how to implement it. but actually like watching,
Somebody do
Brett,
it.
you and I go through and go through the back end and like, here's what we need to enable. Here's what we need to do. Here's let's go ahead and test it. That to me is extremely valuable. And so I'd be happy to set up the time next week to do that.
Hey, you know what we could also do is bring in Adam Frank with Brett so that they could both look in the back end and then
Yep.
start developing a better process for you.
Cool.
Let's do a masterclass.
I love that
I
idea.
love it. That's awesome. I
All
love
right,
that idea.
Let's set that
Yeah.
up. Adam already said he's in. He's watching.
Oh, great.
Of course.
Thanks.
I
Perfect.
love that. Well, thank you, both of you. I love it. I like seeing the background more lively. That's super cool.
Yeah. Hey, Aaron, go ahead and wave.
Damn.
It's a
Wait,
real
where's the wizard?
background.
Where's the wizard this week?
She's over there hiding. Victoria is right here next to us. She works at this conference table now because our offices would absolutely have been done except for you can't get materials, or the permitting process is now
Right.
like
Pull our hair out.
every single ceiling tile needs to be approved by the fire marshal to get put in. So
Jeez.
We'll get there, guys.
All right. Well, let's plan this out. Thank you for being on. Thank you, everybody. Brett, Randy, Jay, Amanda, thank you so much.
take care, guys.
Seeing
See you
you
later,
guys.
guys.
Take care.
Y'all take it easy.